Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cup Council. How are we all? Hopefully, all of you are having a fantastic Tuesday, wherever we are around the world. And welcome back to another Liverpool news episode for you guys this evening. Of course, as you can hopefully tell by the thumbnail and the title, we are going to be talking about new contracts. And of course, there has been a lot of rumours suggesting that potentially Mo Salah and Virgil Van Dijk have signed their new deals. Of course, we'll talk all about that in tonight's episode. But again, let me know how all of you are in the comments down below. Let me know, of course, your guys' thoughts on everything that we do mention in tonight's episode. And again, let me know your guys' thoughts. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and all of that good stuff as well. Anyway, as I get my coughs out already, but how are we, chat? Hopefully all of you are having a good Tuesday as well. And look, of course, we are 2 days away from the League Cup, of course, semi-final. Second leg, of course, we'll be doing a preview show tomorrow for that. That's going to be, again, probably 8 o'clock tomorrow or 9 o'clock, maybe, of course, because I know the Spurs and Arsenal game, I think, is on tomorrow as well. So it'll be probably 9 o'clock tomorrow, at least. Anyway, but like I said, we're going to be talking about the new contracts that supposedly Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah have signed, supposedly. Again, I'm going to say, put a disclaimer there. Realistically, of course, you guys, we are going to be talking about these two, of course, in terms of new deals. We're going to be talking about Trent and, of course, his injury update that Paul Joyce has come out and, again, laid it down to us. Excuse me. Every time I start a show lately, I've just started to cough every single time. But again, we'll be talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold's injury update. But I want to kickstart the show speaking about Jayden Danns. Now, it did get confirmed that he has joined Sunderland. Of course, finally it did get confirmed today. Again, you guys can see that from Liverpool themselves, saying again, Jayden Danns has signed a new long-term contract with the Reds and will join Sunderland on a loan until the end of the season. Congrats and good luck, Jayden, as well. That's from Liverpool's official, of course, Twitter page. But there is a bit of news with Jayden Danns. Now, he isn't at Sunderland at the moment. He is going to be staying at Liverpool for the meantime because supposedly there was a back problem marked on his medical for Sunderland. So it does look like he's going to be staying at Liverpool for at least the next couple of weeks. I don't think it's going to be a huge problem for him, judging from, again, the wording from Sunderland and the wording from Liverpool themselves. It does seem like it's only going to be a very short-term thing. So again, that's great news. First of all, for Jayden and of course Sunderland as well, but mainly, of course, it's just getting him game time and getting him prepared for the long run. In terms of, again, the championship fight that Sunderland, of course, are going to have towards the back end of the season. But still, again, it's not great, of course, him having an injury, in the medical. Let's be perfectly honest. But it's great that once again, it's only a little thing, and it looks like, again, both parties were happy for him to continue his rehab at Liverpool, and then of course he'll go to Sunderland in a few weeks as well, which is great news in that sense. And again, I'm very excited to see what he does do at Sunderland as well. Like we mentioned last night, I think he'll do very, very good at the Championship. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have a good loan spell. But again, obviously, it's a bit of pressure put on, of course, Jayden Danns. I think a lot of us have the same sort of opinion that he's going to have a very good season now for the rest of the year at Sunderland. I think he will. I think he'll bang loads of goals for them. And hopefully, like we said, in terms of the development of Jayden Danns, hopefully now we do see, a lot more development in his case, because look, I think he is a very, very good player and definitely, one of those players for the future that for me will definitely be in Liverpool's contentions in terms of, again, starting in that aspect of things as well. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments, of course, anyway. And again, I think it will be a very good loan move for him. I'd be surprised if it wasn't a good move for him, all considered, anyway. But moving on to Trent then, and talking about Trent, of course, we're not talking contracts when it comes to Trent Alexander-Arnold. We're here and we're talking about injury update. Of course, went off against Bournemouth in our 2-0 win, of course. Obviously, Arnie Slot spoke about it, didn't he, after the game, saying again, Trent said, take me off. He wanted to be taken off for precaution reasons. And of course, now we know the full extent of the injury, according to Paul Joyce. Of course, the ever reliable Paul Joyce saying, saying the scanned results after Trent Alexander-Arnold suffered a thigh injury at Bournemouth show he'll be out for days rather than weeks. Liverpool won't take any risk with his fitness. Obviously, more on, of course, on the times as well, which is great news. Looks like he will miss Spurs on Thursday. That's the only downside to it, of course, unfortunately. But he will be available most likely for Everton away, which again, that will be a massive game towards the title race in terms of, again, Liverpool's game in hand, because if we were to win that game, officially we would be 9 points ahead of everyone else, which I think, again, that puts a massive statement out, especially as well going away to Everton and doing so is huge, and it is massive in that sense. And we're kind of fortunate in that way that Trent, again, is only out for, just the Tottenham game tomorrow on Thursday. So I keep thinking we're playing tomorrow, but no, that's probably a great thing, the fact he's only out for that game. Again, he's not going to be playing against Plymouth. He can get a rest from now until Everton. I think he probably will start against Everton. I don't think we'll start with Conor Bradley. But again, it's just fortunate enough that we've been able to, of course, only now get the information that, again, it's only days and not weeks and months, where I think everybody's first thought process and first protocol was, Trent's going to be out for at least the next 3 to 4 weeks, maybe could even be longer, considering, again, he went straight down and Liverpool didn't take any risks, no precautions, just went straight down the tunnel, and bringing in Conor Bradley, which, again, now looking at that, was really good from from Trent, and really good from our medical department as well, where straight away didn't even try and get him back on the pitch, straight away off and straight down the tunnel, which again is great. But again, I think even if Conor Bradley, if it was long term, I think Conor Bradley can definitely step up to the occasion, which he's proved, now time and time again, that he can be relied on, for Liverpool, and can be a part of the team where, the gap, or the quality gap, isn't a huge drop off. Of course, going forward, there is a little bit of a drop off because of how good Trent is going forward, but I don't think there's a complete and utter, drop off completely from Conor Bradley and Trent Alexander-Arnold. And I really don't believe that. I think Conor Bradley, again, on the ball can be a bit better, but I think obviously overall, having both Trent and Conor Bradley defensively, there's no drop off going forward. I think Trent is a lot better, of course, but again, there is no clear and utter drop off, for example, as well. And also as well, I do think Liverpool, when Conor Bradley is in the team, again, going forward, we play kind of differently. Again, we're not using that kind of like our quarterback type right back. We're playing the high tempo, high velocity right back for can bomb up and down the wings and be that traditional wing back, if you want to make that claim as well. But look, again, I think Conor Bradley will step up against Spurs on Thursday, and I think I know obviously Spurs fans are very optimistic for the game because, again, obviously they're 1-0 up, and of course, obviously they've got they've brought in new signings, they brought in new centre backs, they brought in of course Matthias Tell, didn't they, on deadline day? But I think Liverpool will absolutely batter them. We played awfully in that first leg a month ago. I think the way Liverpool are playing right now, like, we don't have to play good to be good, if that makes sense. But I think, at Anfield, semi-final of a competition, I think, Thursday, I think it's going to be a long night for Spurs. I really do believe that. But look, that's just my prediction. Anyway, but big up Damo as well, saying great. The Trent is not out for weeks or months. Needs the balance game times with Conor Bradley, so that's neither them or in red zone for injuries by being overplayed. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the big thing I think we've been fortunate enough with this season is the fact that we've been able to rotate the fullbacks. Like, I think with obviously Robbo and Costas, I think them two, they've been fighting for that position, haven't they, all season. I don't think one has really outdone the other. I think Arne Slot has already spoke about it in terms of, again, Andy Robertson is the number one left back, but he's not afraid to take. He's not afraid to take Robbo out in certain situations. If Costas is better suited for, a set opponent, it's quite clear that, he'll take them out. Even Trent at times where, Trent's not played a full 90 minutes. He's brought Conor Bradley on to be, probably more energized in that position. And I think at times it's worked. Obviously, sometimes it hasn't worked. The greatest example is Forest at home. He thought that he could play. He thought he could legit play Trent further up more in midfield and then play Conor Bradley right back, and that didn't work. Which again he found out very quickly, and has never done it ever again. Which again, it's great the fact that Arne Slot can learn from things. And the fact that we haven't seen that again this season, because that was horrific, when we watched that at Anfield anyway. But big up Hero as well, seeing evening all any news. We'll get on to, of course, the contract news anyway in a minute. Of course, it's not really news, but again, we'll talk about it because, of course, people have been speaking very highly on social media about it as well anyway. But if you've missed the Trent news anyway, if anyone's just tuning in, of course, we'll get it back up on my screen right now if I can find the actual post, because for some reason it's disappeared on my thing. Why is that disappeared? Hang on a minute, chat. There we go. So Paul Joyce from the Athletic. He's not from the Athletic. Apologies. From the Times again, as you can see, but there, scan results after Trent Alexander-Arnold suffered a thigh injury at Bournemouth show. He'll be out for days rather than weeks. Liverpool won't take any risks with his fitness, of course, which is great news in hindsight as well. Which, of course, the fact that, like I said, that it's not weeks is a good thing, considering we've got pretty much a very busy schedule coming up now, and I think as Lewis Steele, I did get Lewis Steele's tweet, I will quickly show you guys, and I absolutely agree with what he said. But Trent Alexander-Arnold's avoided any serious injury after limping off on Saturday, still a doubt for Thursday, and would be unlikely to play Plymouth on Sunday anyway, but should be okay for next week's Merseyside derby if he's not risked this week as well, which I think, for me, I wouldn't risk him against Spurs. Like, I put him on the bench, again, if we need it, if we're still 1-0 down, on aggregate, if we're still struggling, of course, you can bring Trent on. But I wouldn't risk him personally. I think Liverpool, I think Conor Bradley is quality enough to, of course, start, or to, again, be capable enough of playing against Spurs. Again, looking at that, that first leg, we were awful, overall. But I think Conor Bradley is capable enough. I think, the rest of the team, we're going to go full strength, aren't we? Against Spurs, we're going to try and overturn the 1-0 defeat. And again, look, I think Liverpool can do that. I think Liverpool are capable of that. But of course, Spurs are not going to make it easy. They'll try and go ultra defensive and try and, absorb a lot of pressure and of course, try and do what they probably can do best in terms of, again, counter-attacking football. That's what they've done against City. That's what they've done, for biggest parts of the season against teams where they have, gone on transition and been a very counter-attacking team. And that probably goes against Liverpool in that sense of, again, Liverpool like to control games. We'd like to be the dominant team, which again Spurs will be happy with. I think. I don't think they'll be really concerned in that sense. They'll be more concerned if Liverpool are, kind of like fully firing like we have been in certain games this season, which again I do think, like we'll hopefully be there when Liverpool score 3 or 4. But look, we gotta do our job and of course keep up the tempo and the momentum from again Bournemouth, because again we wasn't great against Bournemouth. We had we had times in that game where Liverpool were really good, and we was. But we got to keep on now, and hopefully against Spurs, we beat them, because I didn't really think about this neither. Arsenal are off for 10 days. They are, I think, after their semi-final game tomorrow against Newcastle, they're off for 10 days. I think they're going to go to Dubai for warm weather training. So in terms of the title race, again, they're going to get a nice healthy rest, considering against Liverpool, where again we've got games in hand trying to catch up on. We've got FA Cup as well. Obviously Arsenal not on the FA Cup because they got battered by United, but still, it's advantage them in that sense. But look, if we were to beat Everton, if we were to come back against Spurs, get to the final, and then go to the final, then of course beat Plymouth on the weekend, then go to Everton and beat them, that would put a real statement down. I do really believe that as well, which look, that would be huge for the title race as well, because Arsenal will be absolutely crying the fact they can't get it done anyway. But Demo says hopefully Dan's game develops in the Championship in the same way that it did with Conor Bradley and Harvey Elliott, and also Ben Doak this season. Hopefully, that is the hopeful dream of the move for Jayden Danns. Looking at Sunderland, they've got a very, very good team. Of course, they've got Joe Bellingham, they've got Enzo Lafie, who last night had a very good performance against Middlesbrough. So again, they are a very, very good team. And now with adding Jayden Danns, a lot of Sunderland fans, as far as I know from, of course, social media, they were very, very happy with the move and very excited for the move as well. And look, what's to say that if Jayden Danns gets an extra, 10 goals for Sunderland, what goes to say they wouldn't want him again next season if they were to get into the Premier League? And then the question, I think, then would have to be asked of Liverpool of, are we willing to let him go on loan for a season in the Premier League? And I say, why not? Because I think Jayden Danns can, he can be good in the Premier League. I think he has the abilities of being a very good Premier League striker. It's just, again, number one is game time, and number two is the injuries. Again, obviously the back injury in the medical is not great as of things right now, but the good thing actually about it is the fact it's only a couple of weeks. It's not a big problem, which is great. But again, you hope that his body and his conditioning, similar to like how we saw with Stefan Bajcetic, where his body give up realistically because again he was thrown in the deep end. Jurgen Klopp said himself, the amount of growing pains and so on and other things that we don't really know about really hindered Stefan Bajcetic. And then, look, it could be the same with Jayden Danns, where, he's just come back from, I think it was a thigh injury, wasn't it? And obviously now the back problem, it's not great, but again, he can overcome that for sure. Anyway, but Spurs on Thursday, smash these as well. Yeah, absolutely. Hero, but big up Mark as well, if you're doing well. Breaks don't always help, might make them sloppy. Could do, 100% could do. I think more so it's to do, why I think it's good for them is because, it's another week where Bukayo Saka is going to come back. It's another position where, again, Bukayo Saka's there. Ben White is supposedly meant to be back after their winter break or their Dubai break anyway, which again is another, quality player for them. But look, yeah, I do think it'll be very interesting with Arsenal because they've got tough games coming up. I know that, we talk about Liverpool having very tough games. I'm going to quickly double check their games coming up as well, because again they've got Newcastle on the weekend. They come back then 10 days later against Leicester away at 12:30. We know Leicester are poor this season. We've seen that firsthand, but 12:30 to a bottom of the league table team. It's not always the easiest games as well. And looking at it, West Ham at home, Forest away, I think they lose. I don't think they beat Forest. Me personally, but then again, Man United away after that, Chelsea at home, Fulham at home, Everton away. Like, again, very, very tough games, and that, of course, obviously they'll have Champions League games coming up as well anyway. So look, when you look at that, it's a tough run, and again, there's way more bumps to go in, of course, in the title race, but again, I think Liverpool will get it done. Again, feeling confident as well, like everyone else should be anyway. But Mark saying Ben Doak has had another injury and is out for longer. Should have just brought him back as well. Is he out for? Did he get injured last night, Mark, as well? Because he's not in the. He wasn't in the team last night. Maybe this is why they signed Whittaker. Maybe. Again, I'm not too sure. But again, let me know, Mark. Anyway, in the comments. But I don't know if loaning players out makes them better. I think it can and it can't. I do think some loans work good. I think Harvey Elliott, for example, is one. Tyler Morton last season, I thought, was another good loan deal. But in also saying that, look at this season. Look at Stefan Bajcetic to Salzburg. Didn't really work out. This is why now he's at Las Palmas. You've then got Fabio Carvalho last season at Leipzig. That didn't work out. He played like 200 minutes, which is nothing realistically. There's been other probably low moves that I'm forgetting about that hasn't worked out. It can definitely be that case, but I think we certainly over the last couple of years, Liverpool have had success with loaning players out. But again, it's just managing them, because they could 100%. Of course, go to a club and you're 100% right. It could 100% fail, and it could work out worse for the club. But I think Liverpool are confident enough that Jadon Danns can do a job at the top of the Championship. And look, he'll learn from that experience as well. And like I said, think of the talent they've got behind of him. Again, like Enzo Laffi, for example. Enzo Laffi is not a Championship player. Like, he can easily be a Premier League player. I could easily see him as like a Palace, for example. But again, the fact that Sunderland have managed to get him down to the Championship is really good on their recruitment staff as well. Anyway, but it can work both ways, of course. But Damo says Leicester might do better against Arsenal if they play Ruud van Nistelrooy up front. Maybe him and Jamie Vardy up front. That'd be quite funny, wouldn't it? To see, at least anyway. But hurt his thigh in training, be out for weeks. Not great news, that, to be fair. But of course, hopefully Ben Doak will recover better anyway, because he's had a really good season, hasn't he? Ben Doak. I think he's got 5 goals and like 5 assists so far this season, which is pretty decent, to be fair. I think he should have got a lot more, shouldn't he? Judging from, of course, XG and other things anyway. But City just fell to bits, left big gaps as well. What do you mean, Mark? I don't know what you mean by that. Do you mean for the Arsenal game as well? But yeah, City were awful. Like, they were really bad against them. But like, I think against a team like Forest will punish them. Like, again, they had one chance against us and they scored from it, and like and they're such a weird team as well, because they can lose 5-0 to Bournemouth and then absolutely decimate Brighton, and but that was at home, and at home they're a very, very good team. We should have beat them, we should have done, but we, walked away with a draw. Arsenal have to, they have to be on their A game for that, because again, it's not like to be fair, it's not like City where if you nullify Haaland, that's all really Man City got. Obviously, I know Omar Marmoush is starting to, of course, come back into the team and come in, of course, his own. But I feel like if you quiet Haaland down, again, City are nullified. They got nothing going forward. With Forest, I think, of course, they got Chris Wood this season. They've got Hudson and Doyle on the wings. They've got really, really good players. I think Elliot Anderson has been really good for them this season, considering, again, at the start of the season, you're like, why on earth have they spent 30-40 million on him? But he's been really good for him, and Nuno's got that system down to a T. And that that deserves massive credit for Forest and the job that they are doing this season, because again, you can't realistically rule Forest out of the title race. I certainly haven't, thinking on a Liverpool side of things, again, at the moment you've got three teams in the fight for the title. You've got us, Arsenal and Forest. Forest was that they are 9 points behind us, but in also saying that, of course, Arsenal, if Arsenal were to lose, Forest are level on points for them. If we're considering Arsenal as title race contenders, then you have to include them. 100% you have to. And look, hopefully, Liverpool win on the weekend, which will extend that gap, hopefully. Or win on, of course, on Wednesday next week, anyway. But look, I think Liverpool will do it. At least anyway. But Mark says, when they played Arsenal, I expected more. City really needed the points as fourth and fifth was open. True, very, very true. I do think people are forgetting, though, that fifth place this season will most likely get you Champions League football, which, again, I think many teams are forgetting about that. But of course, that was reliant on Liverpool, City, also doing well in the Champions League. I think it's probably like 99% now that we will get the extra spot. But again, I don't think it's guaranteed as of yet anyway. But Demos, it's great to see this, the wheels coming off the City juggernaut. But did they have a drop off like that against Arsenal? Yeah, they were bad. They were bad, wasn't they? But I think what happened is similar to how, if you guys cast your minds back to when we played Real Madrid in the Champions League, back in the 22-23 season, the season where we were awful. The midfield was awful. We genuinely were falling apart, week in, week out. That was the exact same situation. Arsenal score early on. They get the goal from the mistake. City, for me, controlled that game until Erling Haaland scored. Erling Haaland then goes on to score. City think they come back, and Arsenal go up another gear. And they did. Let's be honest, they did. But City did drop off. City fell apart after that second goal went in. John Stones doesn't close Thomas Partey down. And then, the gates just open. And that was very similar to when Liverpool played Real Madrid. We battered Real Madrid in that first half and somehow ended up 2-2. And then Real Madrid went up an extra level and Liverpool fell off completely. And that's the same with City. There's a reason why they quickly went out and signed Nico Gonzalez for, 60 million euros? Which was basically, I think, his release clause. But they were really quick to get that deal done. Supposedly, they had been, speaking about him for a while. But there's a reason why in the space of 24 hours, it went from talk to reality. Because Man City knows. Like, they could have, with the drop-off they are having at the minute, they could easily be out of Champions League contention. Excuse me, the way it's going at the moment in terms of the Premier League table, you've got Forest, you've got Newcastle, you've got Chelsea, you've got Bournemouth as well that are pushing, you've got Villa that are still there or thereabouts. City need to be perfect now. they're not going to be in the title race. People talking about that, after they beat Ipswich, and it was like, no, they're not in the title race. Like, again, I know everybody has PTSD from, previous seasons, but still, Man City are not in the title race. They're out of it completely. If they had beat Arsenal, by the way, they're probably back in the conversation for it, to be fair. But as of things right now, Man City are in a top 4, top 5 race. They are 100%. They are. They're not in a title race. The only ones that are in the title race are Liverpool, Arsenal, and Forest as of now. Top 4 race, right now, and I'm going to quickly revise my mind of the league table. But yeah, they're on 41 points right now. They're on the same points as Newcastle. They're 1 point above Bournemouth. If obviously they would all lose and Villa win, Villa are only a point behind them. Like, again, they could easily drop to 8th or 9th this season. They could easily do that. But they have to be on their A game. And this is why I think, City is not as simple as bring Rodri back, and Rodri will fix everything. Because, like I said yesterday, you don't know how he's going to come back, and I think City they're in a rebuild right now. And again, they might come back next season. They may win the Premier League next season. But as of this season, A, they look awful, and B, they're in a rebuild at the minute. And of course, they've brought in the players to do that with Marmoush, Nico Gonzalez, obviously the centre half from Lens, and the Brazilian kid as well. But again, they've gone full at it to try and rebuild this season, and it's not going to work. They'll be lucky to get Champions League football this season. And I don't think that's a mad thing to say neither, considering what mess they're actually in this season. But Edison missing with a minor injury, I think they're pretty much awful with him either way, Mark, aren't they? As well. But Wolves are another team that has been all over the place. They beat Villa the other night. Yeah, I watched the game. They were brilliant. And then you watch them against, for example, like I don't know, like Forest or Arsenal, and they're awful. Like that's the mad thing, isn't it, with the Premier League? Anyway, but let's talk then about these new, obviously this rumor that was going around today. Now, according to Anfield Edition, according to their exclusiveness, anyway, so of course, obviously take it with a pinch of salt, saying that we understand that both Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk have put pen to paper on new deals to extend their stay at Liverpool. Now, this did cause a lot of conversation on social media, with I think it was Graham Bailey as well, also adding his thoughts to it, saying that they had both signed new deals before the new year, and Liverpool just haven't announced it yet. Now, if this is true, I know a lot of people have said that this could be true based on they don't want to single out Trent Alexander-Arnold. They don't want to confirm that these two have signed new deals and put all the pressure on Trent, and of course, why isn't Trent signed the new contract? If it was to come out that both of these had signed new deals, I think it would. I think everything would come out and go like, oh yeah, these two have signed new deals. All the pressure then is on Trent Alexander-Arnold to sign a new contract. Do I think there's any truth to it? I would say yes and no. I do think, I do think both will re-sign, and I do think that. Do I think they've officially re-signed? No. Yeah, as of things right now, no. I think Salah and Van Dijk, they are very, again, what they say is very valuable, and I think people kind of forget that, especially with Mo Salah. Because Mo Salah, when he says something, it has substance behind it. And both him and Virgil van Dijk have been very open in saying, yeah, we're nowhere near completion in terms of, contracts getting signed or this or that. And I believe them to that extent. But what I do also think as well, I think Liverpool are very close to getting them sorted. I don't think it's as, Liverpool a million miles away from getting it done. I don't believe that. I think Liverpool are close to some extent to getting it sorted. But one thing I will also say, if it was to be confirmed that these two would sign a new contract, both Mo Salah and Virgil Van Dijk, it would put a lot of pressure on Trent Alexander-Arnold. And at one point, you're going to have to do that, and when that is, you'd hope it's obviously away from when Liverpool are chasing a Premier League title. Because we seen that last season, didn't we, chat, where all the conversation was around Jurgen Klopp and him leaving the football club and us not really focusing on anything else bar, having to win the Premier League title and putting the pressure on us that we've got to push all the way to get it done, and go on to win the Premier League title. And there was that kind of thought process and that expectation in some level where I think a lot of us thought, that has to be the ending. That has to be the ending for Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp, is him lifting the Premier League trophy. And it's probably, it wasn't just us. It was probably the players. It was probably everyone evolving around the team. And I think at one point last season, that became so apparent. You could see it. You could see it in the team. You could see it in results. The Palace game. The Palace game last season at Anfield was a prime example of Liverpool trying too hard to get the job done. And if in Trent's mind, or if in any of these players' minds, like they've got the thought process of, you know what, I want to leave the football club at the best possible level of winning a Premier League title at least. And even, we could go on to win a League Cup, an FA Cup, and even a Champions League this season. Because I think Liverpool are capable of winning the Champions League. We've proved that through the league table. In the Champions League, we've been the best team in Europe this year. But at what point does that turn into negativity? If Liverpool start losing a couple of games, what's the thought process going to be? Because that is going to be the thought process. If Liverpool lose one or two games, everyone then starts talking about the contracts. Straight after the Man United game, myself included in that, the first thing everybody and everyone's conversations was around Trent, because of the news came out with Real Madrid and the bid of, what was it, £20 million or 20 million euros. All of that come out. Trent then has an awful performance against Man United. And I think all of us rightfully commented on his future and his mindset, because all of us, I think, at the time was like, yeah, his head's in Real Madrid. And rightfully so, because it was such an awful performance. It was a god-awful performance. But since then, Trent had, he's bounced back and been really, really good for Liverpool. But it is that sense of, again, at what point, if Liverpool do start dropping, bad performances now and again, which I don't think we will do, but if we was to do that, how long would it take before the media and Liverpool fans and, fan channels, for example, everyone starts asking the question, not only with Trent, but with all three? So wouldn't it make more sense in getting at least one of their contracts done? Announce the captain, announce Virgil van Dijk's deal. That for me is the number one, thing. That's what you have to do from minute, the number one thing you have to do is get Virgil van Dijk done, because then that shows an example to Mo Salah, to everybody else. Look, he's staying. Virgil van Dijk is staying. He's staying, but he wants to be here for the long run. And that then would show the example then of everyone else. Like, look, we're going to re-sign, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But in also saying that, again, you don't know what the club are offering. You don't know what the club are actually doing. But we have to get these done ASAP. And look, I said it, after January, we'd have to have a conversation around these deals. And I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks we'll hear something. Hopefully it will be this month. Once the transfer window in January has been done, hopefully now in February we actually hear something about the contracts. But that's just a hope. There's no evidence to suggest we are actually gonna hear something. But again, I hope that we're going to hear something, because I don't want to be going into the run-in, in terms of the title race and even the Champions League race, where we're talking about the contracts. I want to just be talking about the football and Liverpool winning games of football and doing this and doing that. That's what I want. And I think that's what a lot of people want as well. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below, because of course that did cause a lot of conversations on social media, at least anyway. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on the potential rumor anyway going around that they have signed the new contracts, as Anfield Edition has come out and said anyway. But again, let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. But Mark saying the thing with the fans being in the dark is the worrying thing. Yeah, absolutely. Jurgen used to talk about impressing performances and results by coaching players and working on training ground rather than just buying players. Guardiola is always open to the checkbook to buy big as well. Yeah, like I do think Pep does get a little bit of he does get a little bit undone in that sense, where he doesn't sort problems out, he does buy problems out. He's done that his whole career. Like, I don't think Pep Guardiola could go to a Dortmund, for example, and be the manager that everybody thinks he is, or go to a mid-table, or a team that can push for a title but has work to do. I don't think Pep could do that. This is why I personally always rated. Everyone will go, "Oh, Guardiola is the best manager ever." Excuse me. Of course, everybody would think that because, again, he's had the best players, he's had the best team available. He's had Barcelona with Messi. He had Barcelona probably with their greatest ever team. With Henry, Eto'o, Xavi, Busquets, Iniesta. He had all of that. Then went to Bayern Munich, had the best team in Germany, had Robben, Ribéry, Lewandowski, Thiago, Xabi Alonso, Boateng, Hummels, Manuel Neuer. He had the best team available. Come to Manchester City, and all right, there were some players at Man City that again were aging, and he's had to develop and so on as well. But he had De Bruyne, he had Aguero, he had players already at the football club that were world class and can fight for titles. You look at Liverpool, where Liverpool were at. Jurgen Klopp had friggin', we had Mohamedou Sakho at the football club, and players like this that we needed to change things around. And again, I always say that first summer where Jurgen had full control, like that is such an underrated transfer window for Liverpool, where we bought Gini Wijnaldum. Oh, excuse me. We bought Gini Wijnaldum. We bought Sadio Mane. We bought in Joel Matip as well. That those three alone was such a huge impact for Jurgen Klopp's era at Liverpool. And again, that for me, I think Jurgen again was the best. I wouldn't swap it, to be honest. I wouldn't swap Guardiola for Klopp any day of the week. But like, people will call me mad for that anyway. But I don't see why Salah would leave. He wants to leave a legacy, and he's just doing that with us. Yeah, 100%. The only way he leaves is the club lets him leave. And we would be stupid to do that. Let's be honest. But that's how I don't see how Slot works. He got rid of a lot of our youth. Did he? Mark, I'm trying to think who did he get rid of. Anyway, but none of these players would be able to replace for the money we would get for them. But Edwards being our shining light on getting the best money for players can't sign these three as well. Yeah, that's the funny thing, isn't it? Where Liverpool gets a lot of praise for the transfer committee, and yeah, at the moment none of them are resigning. That's the big concern. As well anyway, but good stuff, Con, as well. I hope you're doing well, Al, as well. Hopefully you are good. How's it going, Al? All good, thanks, Mark. Be better if excuse excuse me, chat. Like every time I start talking, my nose just keeps getting blocked. I do apologize. Be better. Be better if Mo and Virgil sign. Yeah, 100%. Sooner the better. To be fair, yeah, absolutely agree. But should never have got to this point. No, I 100% agree with that. But who do you blame for that? Um, you know, do you blame the? Do you blame Julian Ward? Do you blame Jörg Schmachter? Do you blame Jurgen Klopp potentially for that? I think everybody has a part to play in it. The fact that, and I said it to you guys, the fact that you've got a sheet saying like, oh, Mo Salah, Virgil Van Dijk, and Trent Alexander-Arnold contract all run out in 2025, and somebody surely went, we should realistically sign them to new deals, right? And everyone's like, maybe, and we didn't really do anything with it, and that's the real worrying thing, that everybody looked at that and went, nah, we're fine. And then Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards have walked into the club and they're like, what on earth, what on earth has happened? I think the big problem, I think, with it is the fact we've had no news. We've had no positive news to contracts. And of course, we won't get a day in, day out, report on it. But the fact that we've had no consistent, we've had no good update at all from anyone is concerning as well. But Mark says, but should never have got to this point. Yeah, absolutely. When is the cutoff when everybody accepts they walk? Says Hero. March. March. I've said it to you guys. If we didn't hear anything in January, it's a bit concerning. Now that the January is over with the signings, possibly, look, I'm now saying February. If we're here on March the 1st and there's still no news about contracts, there is probably then the thought process of they might be going, because how long are we going to leave it until? Sorry, chat, my back's absolutely itching. How long is it going to be until they sign new deals? And we got James Pearce on at the back end of the summer, where he said it's very rare that contracts go into the last 4 to 5 months of their deals and they're not re-signed. And we know instantly Real Madrid are there for Trent. Well, we know that. There's no questioning, where could they go? The big ones are Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk. Where would they go, realistically? Because Mo Salah can go wherever he wants. He can go to, he could go to a Barcelona. He could go to, he can go on to, the Serie A. He could go to the French league. He could go to La Liga if he wanted to. But with Van Dijk as well, I think Virgil van Dijk wants to stay at Liverpool, number one. And number two, he could go wherever he wants. He can go to a Real Madrid. He can go to a Barcelona. And every single team in Europe would want a Virgil van Dijk. Simple as. If anybody goes, oh yeah, we're gonna sign Virgil van Dijk for free, you wouldn't believe it. Because you go, what? It'd be kind of like Luka. It'd be like Luka going to the Lakers, and everybody's like, what? Like genuinely, that's what it's like. But look, we do need to get these sorted ASAP. And the longer it takes, the worse it's gonna get. But they can walk at any time out of contract, I guess. Yeah, absolutely. But March the 1st, I would start getting really concerned for it anyway. But Mark saying Klopp had time to get them signed. Klopp had time to get them signed, but should have been one of the first things Slot should have done. Yeah, 100%. 100% agree with that. But I'd also say it is down to Jurgen. Him, Jörg Schmachter as well. Them wanting more power in the club. Yeah, that you do have to blame them for that. And then, of course, when Jurgen knows he's leaving, it's then the case of, all right, leave Liverpool in the best possible place. but then leave it for the new manager. And maybe Arne Slot might have walked in and gone, yeah, I don't like Mo Salah, I don't want Virgil van Dijk, I don't want Trent Alexander-Arnold, and he could have done that. But quite clearly this season has been a prime example of, he spoke very highly of Van Dijk, he spoke very highly of Salah, Trent as well. Like, he wants these three at the football club. It's quite obvious. And again, to be captain obvious, of course, he wants them at the football club. But again, what Richard Hughes is doing, no one has a clue. And that's a concerning point anyway. But big up Jack as well, saying, hello, chat. Hope you're all well. 1st of March, and David's Day. Which, look, if it's done on that day, I'll be very happy, at least anyway. But what's kind of blagging about now as well. Absolute nonsense as per usual. Anyway, but hopefully you're well. Anyway, was a big up Mark putting Jack's link in the comments. Make sure you all like the stream, Reds, as well. Absolutely. Jack as well from Al. Hope you're well, mate. John says, hi Con. How can we replace all three with FSG as owners? It will cost a fortune in transfer fees and wages. I don't trust the owners to replace them with quality replacements. Simple answer is you can't replace them. That's genuinely it is genuinely the answer. You can't replace any of them. If you work it out just on base salary alone, you would get £38 million a year. From Salah's contract, from Van Dijk and Trent, you'd only get £38 million. Now, can you get a replacement for one of them for £38 million with a transfer fee and wages and bonuses included in that? No, you can't. Absolutely you can't. And it's with that as well when you think about it. Like, this is what makes this whole situation frustrating, because we've seen lately contracts expiring at the football club where Joel Matip's gone. Bobby Firmino went on a free. Sadio Mane was very close to leaving Liverpool on a free. But look, at the end of the day, Liverpool, we all praise Liverpool for their selling ability at times, and even the buying quality for Liverpool hasn't been great over the last couple of years. But over the last 5 years, we've had some decent signings in that. Even you're looking at York this summer now, that was probably a 10 out of 10 window, considering we got Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Endo included in that as well. Like, again, it was a really good summer. But you look at it and go, and again, I know that I think was it James Pierce, I think today or yesterday, came out. I think even there was a few other Liverpool journals coming out and saying that Liverpool have prepared for the summer window. Fabrizio Romano claiming that Liverpool are going to be very busy in the summer. But let's be honest, and chat, I'll ask you this as well. How many signings, as of things right now, how many signings do you think Liverpool sign, if even without the front, the big three re-signing? If them three re-sign, how many signings do you think Liverpool make in the summer? For me, I think Liverpool sign at least 4 players in the summer. I think we sign a new centre-half. I think we sign a new left-back. I think we get another midfielder. And I think we sign a striker in the summer. So that's 4 players already before we even think about the big three leaving. Because if that's the case, then Liverpool would then need to sign at least 7 players in the summer. We'd have to sign a new right winger. We'd have to sign a new centre back just for Virgil van Dijk. We need to sign a new right back for backup for either Conor Bradley or even a new right back for the team. So you're then leaving yourself in such a terrible position. Like, and look, 2 out of the 3 I think want to re-sign. Trent, again, I can't speak for Trent, and I can't speak for what Trent is thinking. But at least we know Mo Salah and Van Dijk want to sign. We know this. But again, if all 3 of them were to leave, considering what Liverpool want to do already in the summer, we're talking then 6, 7, 8 signings in the summer, and then you have to be top quality. And will they do that? That is the other question of FXG. Would they do that? Would they bring in the players, the quality players, to replace them three alone? Probably not. But they have to do that. And again, if all three of them were to leave, and I've said this, Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes would deserve to get sacked. 100% they would. Because whatever they think would be great, again, like I said, we're not dealing with Jordan Henderson and giving him a 4-year contract. We're dealing with Mohamed Salah, Virgil Van Dijk, and Trent Alexander-Arnold, the three current best in that position. And that, for me, it's just they, plain as day. Get these contracts sorted ASAP, because you're letting go of the best players in the world on a free. Anyway, but what are you chatting, McKindo? I had a haircut last week. Like, it just goes to show you don't watch the content as well. But big up John as well. Hope you're doing well. Haven't we let Oakley Conroy leave as well? I don't think so. I think he was at Leeds. Supposedly for a trial, I think it was, but I'm not too sure. Mark, let me know. We need a 5 for our squad now as well. Yeah, I'd say we even forgetting about contracts, at least 4. I think we need in the summer. I think because goalkeeper, we're going to keep Alisson, we're going to keep Mamardashvili. They're our 2 goalkeepers for next season. I think Mamardashvili is going to be brought in slowly. I think obviously with Alisson, there's always the concern that he's going to get injured at some point. I think the plan is to have Joras as third choice keeper, and then the goalkeeper position is going to be Alisson, Mamardashvili, and Joras as the 3 keepers. Right back, we hope it's Trent and Bradley. Centre halves, I do think Liverpool are going to assign a centre half. I think, for me, I think Liverpool are going to go after Hato, someone who can cover the left hand side, to be the backup for Van Dijk and to play a left back if you wanted it. We got a video actually coming out tomorrow. I'm gonna do a sneak preview for you guys. If I can. I don't know. Where's the arrow? There it is. So here's the thumbnail for tomorrow. This video anyway. So that is what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. You guys could probably assume off of that. But that is the general photo anyway that we're going to be doing. Of course, we're going to be speaking about that tomorrow. But left back is another area. Midfield, I think we need another one. And striker. I think striker is another one where I think Liverpool will dip in the market, and we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, but big up Shahid as well, saying in the summer Liverpool need signings. Hope Salah stays at Liverpool and signing new contract. Good luck for that as well. Mark saying how are you as well. Anyway, but again, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Anyway, like we've mentioned, again, like we've talked about Salah contract, Van Dijk contract. We spoke as well about Trent. Obviously, he is obviously not injured for a long period of time. He's only out for a couple of days. Will be interesting to see whether or not he is fit for Thursday. But we'll hopefully know a bit tomorrow with Arne Slot's press conference as well. So make sure you are tuned into that as well. Of course, we'll post clips from it as well. But again, make sure you are tuned into the channel. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well, guys. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well if you are new to the channel, of course, anyway. But again, any bits and pieces will be live for any bits and pieces that does come out anyway. Make sure you are stay tuned to the shorts, the videos as well that we are bringing out to the YouTube channel as well. It's very much appreciated as always. Anyway, and again, like we said, any other bits and pieces will be live for that, of course, anyway. But like we said, hopefully you guys have enjoyed tonight's show as well. Big up to everyone that's tuned in to the show as normal. Anyway, but I'm very good, thanks. How are you doing? But I do feel the club's name is not what it was, even though we are the best in the world. Yeah, to some extent, I could agree to that as well. I think I think everybody from the outside world, I think Liverpool's pulling power, if that makes sense. Like I think Liverpool, everybody thinks Liverpool has no pulling power. I think we do. I think it's just we've gone after the wrong type of players. Like, for example, Supermendy. Supermendy fully, took the mick with Liverpool. Last summer, um, and now he's going to get his move to Arsenal if he does go there. Even if he does go there, look, he might not even be the number one DM for them anyway. But look, we've got one of the best in the world in Ryan Gravenberch, at least anyway. But look, we can look forward to that. In the summer anyway, but big up Damo as well, and big up Mark as well. Thank you for everyone for tuning in to the show anyway. Like I said, if you are new around here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button as well, guys. Get as many reds in as possible. And I'll see all of you guys tomorrow. Might be a bit earlier show, might be 8 p.m, might be 9 p.m. Make sure you are tuned in anyway, of course, for the Tottenham preview. And let me know your guys' thoughts on everything we've mentioned in tonight's show, at least anyway. But if you're new around here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And I've been Connor from the Co Council. I'll see you guys later on. Ta-ra.